I didn't have high hopes when I signed up for the notorious dating site. I'd heard the stories from all my friends about the type of self-entitled pricks they continuously wound up on dates with. After my husband Max had passed away 5 years ago, I'd sworn off dating altogether anyways. Gone were the days of going to bars with my friends, scouring the crowds for any other poor single souls to mingle with. Instead, I'd spend my evenings curled up in a bed with an old sweater of his. A towel, a sock that finally appeared in the dryer again, but as time goes by, the pain of grief lessens from a stabbing open wound to a deep-set soreness, one that you know is always going to be there, an old war scar or a phantom limb prodding at your memories. After 5 years, my maid of honor, Laura, had decided to stage an intervention. She'd come over a few nights ago, well after I'd expected any visitors. Not that I had many these days, but still. I was sitting on the couch, trying to catch up on the newest episode of Loki and searching the recesses of my brain for the references that were being made. If Max had been there, he'd have answered my questions before I even thought to ask them. But he wasn't. A knock on the front door sent my startled tabby cat skittering off my lap and behind the couch for safety at the unexpected arrival. Hold on, I called, jumping to my feet and padding over to the door. I couldn't suppress the smile that touched my lips as I saw Laura standing there, 2 bottles of wine in hand and what I could only guess was a gallon of margarita mix under her arm. This wasn't the first time she'd shown up unannounced in an attempt to swindle me into going out with her, and I thought my continued rejections had finally gotten through to her when she finally stopped speaking to me altogether about a month ago. Laura, hey, it's good to see you. Are you okay? I asked, hesitating on the last word as I looked my best friend over. She was the type with a taste for flair, and when I'd gotten a glimpse of her wardrobe when we'd shared a dorm in college, much of it had remained unchanged. Short skirts, tight dresses, and heels that you could commit murder with. But tonight, she sported a pair of yoga pants and a pink V-neck that complemented her long strawberry blonde hair, which was braided in a neat plait over her shoulder. Laura grinned, pulling me in for a one-armed hug. I will be, as soon as my best friend invites me in for a girls' night. Without waiting for a response, she slipped past me and made a beeline for the kitchen. By the time I closed the door and caught up with her, the drinks were already flowing and a glass of wine was waiting on the counter for me. A few giggly hours later, when both wine bottles lay empty and my brain was nearly frozen from the icy margaritas, we sat on my couch discussing Laura's latest sketch. Casey, I swear this one's different, she exclaimed, sipping her margarita. He's nothing like John. She paused, allowing both of us time to throw up a middle finger salute to the asshole that had broken her heart. And her ribs. Sanjay is sweet and caring and he has a great job. I think he's planning on introducing me to his parents soon, she giggled. I smiled, one of the rare genuine ones. I'll believe it when I see it. Gotta make sure he's good enough for my baby girl. I laughed softly. So where'd you meet Prince Charming? As soon as I saw the gleam in Laura's eyes, I knew I'd been baited. Well, we actually met online. After John, I wanted to get over him as fast as I could, which usually meant by getting under someone else. And her smirk didn't deny it. So I gave in and made a Tinder account. I was only looking for a fling, but then Sanjay and I matched, and we started talking, and then we kept talking, and he took me out. I can't even tell you how nice it is to be with someone who actually cares about me, not just what I have. I nodded along, looking down at my drink. I'd had that. Once. My tumultuous thoughts must have been clear on my face, because Laura scooted over to me and wrapped an arm around my shoulder. You should make one too. I blinked. Make what? A Tinder, duh. I shook my head. No way, Laura. I'm not. I can't. Laura set her glass down with determination, turning to give me her best no-nonsense look. Casey, it's been 5 years. It's time to move on. Max would want you to. He'd be devastated to see what this has done to you. I flinched slightly at her words, at their accuracy. She'd been the one to introduce us and had known him just about as well as I had. Come on, you don't even have to use it. Let's just see what kind of weirdos you get matched up with. She laughed, and it was a contagious one. No sooner had she made the suggestion, we were both hovering over my phone, swiping left and right, like we were shopping in an online catalog for a new fridge. Which brings us here. Against my better judgment, I'd let her set me up on an actual date. We'd been swiping and drinking when Adam's profile had come up. His warm brown eyes had jumped out at me immediately, the curls that fell messily across his forehead, charming when paired with the brilliant smile that flashed the camera. He was a dentist with his own practice in the next town over, and his interests included hiking, camping, reading comics, and going to the movies. Laura swore he was the perfect fit for me, and I was having a hard time disagreeing with the alcohol flowing so freely. So there I sat at a table with a cute little bistro we'd chosen to meet up at. For the first time in over 5 years, I dug out my makeup bag, fretted over my royal blue blouse and jeans for an hour, and curled my amber locks, which now bounced just above my shoulders as my leg bounced anxiously. I was way too early, but I wanted to pick the table. Close enough to the door in case I needed to make a quick exit, but a straight line to the bathroom in case my tears needed to make a quick exit for my eyes. Had to have my bases covered, you know? The bell above the door jingled happily, combating the sloppy raindrops splattering on the window behind me. I turned my head towards the noise, and my anxiety melted away as soon as those chocolate pools made contact with my own slate eyes. Adam smiled and gave me a wave, and I could feel the butterflies in my stomach as the cheery presence approached me. He held out a hand for my own, which found its way into his, as I sat dazed by that dazzling smile. "Hey, Casey, right?" At a loss for words, I nodded, my cheeks already reddening slightly in embarrassment at my reaction to that honey-coated voice. "Wow, you're even prettier than your picture." He took the seat across from me with a nervous chuckle, running a hand through those short curls that had fallen haphazardly across his forehead. "Sorry, I know that's corny. I wasn't expecting anyone to actually be here, let alone the person I expected." He gave me a nervous smile, explaining his own similar feelings towards the app that had brought us together. And then, as Lara and Sanjay had, we talked some more. We'd agreed to meet at noon, and before I knew it, the moon had taken its place in the sky above us, and the bistro emptied out. I couldn't believe the hours I'd lost track of, talking about everything and nothing at all. In fact, I can't quite remember just what we talked about, just that I'd instantly felt so comfortable around him. That dazzling smile and the warmth of his eyes creating an enchantment I had fallen under. When the waitress placed a check on the table and informed us the restaurant would be closing soon, Adam turned to her, apologizing for keeping them so late and for losing track of time. As he made small talk, I blinked, looking around the silent bistro. I gulped, shaking myself as the guilt set in. Guilt for actually enjoying myself. Without Max. This wasn't right. I needed to go home. I stood suddenly from my seat, the spell broken. I think I should head home. I didn't realize what time it was. I babbled, grabbing my jacket and purse hastily. As I scrambled to gather my belongings, I felt a firm hand on my arm. "Hey, it's all right." I did too. "Why don't I walk you home?" Adam asked as the waitress walked off to run his card. I jumped, a bit surprised, and shook my head. No, it's all right. I've kept you long enough." I winced slightly as the hand on my arm tightened, fingers digging into my skin. I looked at Adam to demand he get his hands off of me when he flashed me that dazzling smile again, his hand easing up. "It's no trouble, really. If anything, it's a selfish attempt to impress you enough for a second date." He laughed, smile still in place. I was about to shake my head and insist I could call a cab when I felt all of the air in my lungs had been sucked out. A damp chill seemed to seep into the air around us. leaving my skin feeling clammy as I struggled to remember what I was saying. That smile was so captivating, wider than should have been possible, reaching up to those chiseled cheekbones. His pearly white teeth flashed from behind his supple lips, so bright they were almost blinding beneath the fluorescent lighting, and seeming large enough that I could see my own reflection in them, like a deer caught in the headlights. "Here's your receipt. Y'all have a great night," the waitress chimed cheerily, handing the checkbook to Adam. I blinked, reaching for my purse. "Oh, I'm sorry. I should have gotten that. At least let me leave at the tip." I blushed, feeling guilty and off balance all at once. "Don't worry about it. Maybe next time." Adam smiled and winked, and I found myself unconsciously smiling back. We fell back into easy, casual conversation as he walked me the few blocks back to my place. Our steps fell into time so seamlessly you couldn't tell who was leading who. Before I knew it, we were standing in front of my door, the dreary weather from earlier cleared up, and allowing the stars to twinkle above us merrily. I had a really great time, Casey. I hope we can do this again, Adam asked, and I found myself nodding before even realizing it. He chuckled, his cheeks reddening as well as he blushed cutely. "Here's my number. Sorry, all I had on me was a business card." He handed me the small card with a handwritten number scrawled hastily on the back. As our hands touched and our eyes met, he leaned in and brushed his lips across the corner of my mouth gently. "Until next time. Have a good night, Casey," he said softly. I nodded, inhaling sharply. As I felt a sharp pain on the corner of my bottom lip, I lifted my fingers to my mouth, blinking at the bright crimson that dotted the tips of my fingers. I looked up for Adam, but he was already gone. Did he bite me? I hastily unlocked my door and slipped inside, deadbolting the door behind me. My heart raced and my knees felt like jelly. I made my way to my bedroom, feeling dazed and curled up under the blankets to rid myself of the chill that sunk to my bones. But I haven't been able to shake the feeling that something's not right here. Is it the guilt I feel for betraying my late husband? Or is it this mounting dread, just nerves for our upcoming second date? Well, could Adam be her next love? This is part 1, so I look forward to more. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, comment. Just let me know I'm doing a pretty good job and I can keep this going for you. Until then, until next time, this has been Harrow's Edge.